Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. So you probably know that I always try and upload one film a week, and my upload time is 6 o'clock on a Friday. And unfortunately, this week I've been kind of hamstrung by a couple of things. Commitments, work, and weather have meant that I've struggled to kind of tie up a review or a car event. So I still wanted to upload a piece of content, so I thought I'd do, because I've seen a couple of vloggers do this recently, and I thought you might be interested. I thought I'd do a cars that I've owned, so my car history, and I thought I'd do that as a quick vlog, and I may as well do it in my current car, Ruby Roadster. I also wanted to just very briefly say a huge thank you, because just last week we went through the 2,000 subscribers mark, which when I think back to when I started the channel in January, that was just a dream to have that number of subscribers. So, you know, massive thank you to all of you who have subscribed, and please, you know, if you can like and share my content, that would be great. I have some wicked things coming up between now and Christmas that I don't want to tell you too much about, but I've got two very, very special cars coming within the next couple of weeks, which are very cool. You might guess one if you've seen my last video. I have now arranged for the Porsche Panamera road test, so that's definitely coming. Anyway, let's get on with the subject of this video, my car history. Now, unlike some of the YouTubers, I've not made massive amounts of money through business ventures or been able to kind of buy cars because I've got wealthy parents and those types of things. So my car history is cars that I've had to work really hard for, and it all started off when I was at university with my very first car. I think everybody loves their first car. I had a Mark I Ford Fiesta, but very importantly it was a 1.3 gear, and then I did what most people did, maybe not most people, just sad people like me. I then properly boy raced it. So I took the car and I had a huge amount of piss taken out of me, basically, because I put spot lamps on it, and I put some pictures up of these cars as I'm talking. Spot lamps on it and a little baby steering wheel, and some stickers and all those types of things. I then massively successfully blew it up, burst the piston rings, and had to do basically a full engine rebuild. And two of my mates at university, Steve Lord and Matt Francis, if you're watching, hi, basically, well, I would say helped me rebuild it, but all I did was make the T. But when we did that, we put fast road cams in it and K&N air filters, and I think we managed to get all of about 70 horsepower. It was an absolute beast. So yeah, I love that car, my first boy racer car. Then I left university, and my first car after university, when I walked into a job, I got a Mark IV Toyota Celica 2-litre GT, the 16-valve engine. And the amusing story to that was, I was on my way to pick the car up with a mate of mine, having seen it in Auto Trader, and then I spotted in the description halfway there that it was actually an automatic and not a manual. And then because I'd convinced myself I needed to buy that car, I then made up all kinds of really cool excuses about how the fact that it was automatic meant the engine wouldn't have been so stressed and it was a good buy. It wasn't a good buy. It was a great car, but it could have been better. I didn't keep that car very long, because I had to sell it because funds were low. So I then, my only adventure into the whole kind of JDM thing, which probably didn't exist back then, to be honest, I then bought a Nissan Silvia Turbo, 1.8 turbo, rear wheel drive. I guess the coolest thing about that car is it had pop-up headlights, a bit like the first Celica actually. It wasn't that quick, it wasn't a great car, to be fair, but I had that for a bit, and then that went wrong. The ECU went wrong. I had the turbo went wrong. I had to have a new turbo on it, and it ended up costing me a lot of money. So I got rid of that, and then things started to go downhill a bit because I decided to buy my first house. So I then bought a Renault 19 1.4 Energy. Nice. That was really a foray into a cheap car and buying a house. It was slow. It wasn't a great car, to be fair, but I had it for quite a while. I had that for probably a couple of years. Next on the list, we then started to get a little bit better. So a friend of mine at the time had someone who they were working with who had a Mark V Toyota Celica, a really nice white one, that they were going to trade in. I think they were buying a Porsche Boxster, and they offered me just a ridiculous deal to buy the car off them because they wanted it to be loved. So I basically bought it, and I absolutely love that car. It was beautiful. I think that was the first car I did a track day on. I did track days at Donington Park, Brands Hatch, Bedford Autodrome. I did quite a few track days in that car. I really loved it. It was quite a... Oh, very nice. F430 scooter rear going the other way. So I love that car very much. Again, pop-up headlights. So not bad so far. I've had 3 cars with pop-up headlights, which was always a dream of mine when I was a kid. Now then, my car history starts to get a little bit better now because I traded that car in for what I would call my first proper car, and that was a Mark I Audi TT Roadster, the 225 BHP variant, and that was a proper grown-ups car. I think that was the first car I bought with proper finance, and it was quite expensive actually, but it was so new, they hadn't been out for very long, and you'd walk out of shops and you'd find crowds of people stood around the car. It was wicked. So I absolutely loved that car. It had the Bose sound system in it. Really, really loved that car. Now then, sadly, my wife and I, by this time, had a horse. And I had started to compete with the horse, and my wife was doing dressage and stuff. And we needed to be able to transport the horse around, so we needed to be able to tow a horse box. So, sadly, and I know I'm going to comment below if you want to, I traded in a Mark I Audi TT Roadster for a short wheelbase Mitsubishi Shogun. Oh dear. I mean, that was a great car. I did 100,000 miles in that car. I took it off-road. It was brilliant at towing. It did all the things that, you know, if you like, a petrol head probably wouldn't want to do, but it was a superb car. So I had that car, loved it very much. We then decided to go from towing a trailer for the horse. We then bought a horse lorry, so that basically freed me up to be able to buy a nice sports car again. And I'd always had a thing for Honda S2000s, and again, through a mate, I basically got a deal that I just could not refuse, and I bought my Honda S2000. And I have to say, I think if you've seen my Q&A video I did a few months ago, my S2000, I think that was one of the best cars I've ever owned. It was superb. That 2-litre VTEC, 9,000 RPM redline, massively reliable, apart from tyres, and I think I had to change a battery. I didn't have to do anything to it. Superb car. Again, I tracked that quite a lot as well, and I put 100,000 miles on that car. So I absolutely love that car. That was traded in for another TT. This time I went up to a TTS. I was that close to buying a TTRS, but I just started my business at that time and I couldn't justify that extra bit of money. So I bought the TTS. And again, it was quite amusing. So when I traded that car in, when I got my trade-in price for my S2000, I then discovered it was a Category D insurance write-off. I didn't know that because I didn't do an HPI check, because I was buying it from a friend or from a friend of a friend. So that was a bit disappointing. I'd driven a car around for 4 years and it had been an insurance write-off. But ho-hum, you learn these things. But my Audi TTS was stellar. It was a brilliant, brilliant car. 6-speed manual, 272 horsepower. Really, really lovely car. I loved it to bits. And again, I ran that for quite a long time, and then it just started to have a few issues. It started to have a few problems. I just had the cam belt changed, and I had an oil leak, and an oil seal oil went up into the engine, got on the cam belt, and I effectively had to have so a £25 oil seal cost me £1,000 to get the engine rebuilt, and that wasn't great. And then it did it again about 3 weeks later because there was a failure on the part that they put in. So I lost love with that car and I had to get rid of it. And I traded that car in for this car, for my John Cooper Works Mini. But at about the same time I had the TT, I also bought a Caterham 7. So I had a super light Caterham 7. It was the 150 horsepower 1.6 Sigma engine. I bought that with a friend, and that was an absolute mega car. Again, I did my first competitive sprint in that car and did quite a few track days. I absolutely loved that car. The best visceral driving experience of any car that I've owned. And then the last two cars that are worth note, although this is my car history and not my wife's car history, the last two cars my wife's had, I think, have been pretty special. So we had a Range Rover Sport Autobiography, and that was just such a beautifully appointed car. The interior spec of that car was amazing, so that was really lovely. And then she traded that in for her current car, which is the Audi S4 Avant, which has starred on Petrol a few times. Quite a few of you love that car. So there you go. That is pretty much my car history. So there you go, guys. That is a short potted history of the cars I've owned. I know it's a bit of a different type of video. I hope you've enjoyed just having a bit of an insight. I've had an interesting car history, some high points, some low points, and I hope that going forwards I'll have a lot more high points. I've got some really big plans in terms of what I'd like to own in the future. It's just when funds allow. But I hope you've enjoyed the video anyway. The next film I'm going to upload will be a car review. I've got a really cool car that I'm going to review just in a few days time. Actually, I'm not going to tell you what that is yet, because I'm going to kind of keep you in suspense. Keep tuned to my Instagram, Facebook and Twitter feeds, and I'll drop some hints in there. But I'm quite looking forward to it. It should be quite interesting. And then I've got a couple of stellar cars between now and Christmas, which I just cannot wait for. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have done so, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. Ideas for new films, comments on what you think about the cars I've owned and what I did to them. You know, you can fill your boots on that one. And if you haven't done so already, and then please subscribe. You know, we're growing at a really nice rate. You know, they always say that first sort of 5,000 or so subscribers is really hard to get, and I totally believe that. I've worked my socks off this year. We're at 2,000, but I'd hope that we can get more. So if you subscribe, tell your friends, share my content, and hopefully we'll grow together. And I guess see you on the next video. So anyway, you take care, guys. Drive safe.